Rick's Firearm Academy of Detroit, in conjunction with Laid, Legally Armed in Detroit, presents Personal Protection Tips. This is a regular ongoing feature here over at Rick's Firearm Academy Detroit and over at Laid, in which we impart personal protection tips designed to enhance and hone your personal safety wherever you may be. We invite you to read the tip and look at our archive of other tips. And we challenge you to incorporate as many of these suggestions as you can into your lifestyle. It is our very fervent and ardent belief that as many of these suggestions that you can actually use will make you and your family more safe. Now, before we get to today's personal protection, personal safety tip, let me pause for station identification. This is our channel. We can be reached on social media sites such as YouTube. Check out our site at youtube.com/Detroit CCW. I have an archive there of all of the tips that I've created thus far. Also, please feel free to like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to our channel, and also look at our other numerous and diverse social media properties on Instagram, Twitter, and of course Facebook. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with today's tip. Today's personal protection is deactivating milk chutes. Many older homes still have fully functional milk chutes. These portals were designed for dairy deliverymen to deliver milk, eggs, vegetables, and other perishable items to consumers. And depending on what part of the country you're in, you know either exactly what I'm talking about, or I understand that many of you may have no clue as to what I'm talking about. In some of the middle class and regular class, or however you want to make the distinction, in many of these working class communities, there are these portals. They're I would say maybe 12 by 12 in actual area, and it's like a door, with a little bitty knob where you can leave items in it from the outside and then close it. And then if you're inside the home of the residence, you can come away from the direct opposite side and open up your little access to that portal, and you can actually retrieve an item that someone left there. And this is one of those devices that back in the day, probably more so in the 50s and maybe as late as the 60s, when milkmen would, deposit perishable items there on a regular delivery schedule. Of course, with the passage of time, things fall out of favor, and that service is not available now. So anyway, many homes here in Detroit still have these portals there, and these present a entry point for bad guys. Bad guys can actually take control of this portal or this gateway into your home and actually get inside your home. And some people, they're like, man, well, that, access is not very big. Well, there's a couple of ways bad guys can actually, deploy to facilitate this access point. Either they'll have a coworker who is relatively slender, or they might actually enlist the aid or assistance of a young person or a child. However they get additional assistance to help with the crime. It is mere, and pardon the pun, child's play for someone small enough to go through that access point and to then go to the front door and from the inside to provide access to bad guys to do whatever they want to do with your home. Presumably, they may just want to burglarize your home. But like I tell people, when bad guys have their initial plans, they implicitly accept every other contingency that goes along with it. Well, what exactly do you mean, Rick? Well, let's just say there's bad guys and they come into your home through this access point. In their mind, initially, they just want to go in, ransack the place, and look for valuable goods or cash. If they come across a dog, for example, that is there, they probably would not hesitate to attack, if not kill, that dog. If there are children there, God knows what they would do with the children. Or if there is a vulnerable person or vulnerable adult, a senior citizen there who can actually identify them, who knows what they would do to ensure that they are not caught and brought to justice. And yes, in these economically uncertain times, a home invasion, someone merely breaking into your home and just stealing things, well, that's not a very high priority event to get them to investigate and try to find who took advantage of this vulnerability of your home. The thing that I find more serious and is worthy of further consideration is that children, senior citizens, and vulnerable adults could fall prey to these bad guys who have no qualms about breaking into your home. So, accordingly, any home that has these milk chutes still functioning in their actual physical property of their home, they should be deactivated. And a lot of people here in Detroit, they've deactivated these portals by actually bricking up the insides of this access point so that no one can actually come into their home. Once again, this has been another personal safety, personal protection tip.